Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Pleasure Pulse. I'm your host, Roma Richardson, and you are tuned in on ZIZ Radio, ZIZ on Facebook, and ZIZ on YouTube. I'm excited to have you join me for another Tuesday night and another exciting conversation. But as usual, before we get into tonight's discussion, where I will also introduce you to my guest, I will, as usual, take a short break so you can let everybody know that Pleasure Pulse is live, and then we will come right back and jump into tonight's conversation. So stay tuned. Welcome back to Pleasure Pulse. I'm your host, Roma Richardson, and you are joining me on ZIZ. Tonight, I am so excited for this conversation that we have been trying to have for a while now. But you know, better late than never, and whenever it's supposed to happen, it's supposed to happen, because I believe in fate and timing and alignment and all of those things. So tonight, we're having the conversation. Last month was Women's History Month. You know, it also marked International Women's Day, and so I wanted to have this conversation on Project Viola specifically within the realm of teenage pregnancy, so we could talk about some of our amazing, not just the amazing teens on the program, but the amazing people who work with the teens on the program. So tonight we are talking about sex and teenage pregnancy, but specifically Project Viola. And with me, I have my guest, whom I'll ask to introduce herself. And usually I just tell people, say whatever it is you want about yourself, whatever you want people to know about you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Vanessa Archibald, Gender Field Officer in the Department of Gender Affairs, responsible for the Project Viola Teen Mothers Program. So I am the program officer for the program.
Okay, cool. So you work with the girls, you're their chaperone, program coordinator,
all in one.
Third parents, fourth parents, whatever, therapist, everything. Okay, because I know like a lot of the programs in gender, I feel like once you're working in gender, you become kind of everything that the client needs.
That's true.
Or you refer them, you know, when you realize that you're passing, or maybe you've reached your limit on what you can offer or realistically do, or so on. So Project Viola, a lot of folks might not be familiar with it, especially if you're not as nosy about the Department of Gender Affairs as I am. So can you talk to us about the history and origin of Project Viola, the program?
Okay, so Project Viola came about back in 1997 when a teen mother who attended the Bastia High School, she was not allowed to sit her examinations because she was pregnant. Even though she paid for them, she was not allowed. So she made a complaint with the Department of Gender Affairs. And in that complaint, she would have explained to the former PS at the time, Mrs. Rosalind Hazel, and she was a staunch advocate for teen mothers. So she would have taken up the matter with UNICEF, and in doing so, they did a few consultations with stakeholders, community members, and in doing all of that, the federal cabinet came to a decision to launch a policy that enables teenage mothers to continue their education once they are pregnant.
So it's really about like education, like completing their education, staying in school, ensuring that there's no practice that prohibits them from completing it.
Yes.
Okay. Do you still have cases coming to you of like principals, teachers, or so on, preventing pregnant teens from, you know, attending or completing assignments in school, sitting exams, or is like everyone in all the schools kind of aware of this policy?
I don't think that the general public is aware of the policy, I guess because it's way back in the 90s. So as far as complaints, we don't have anyone coming to us to formally make a complaint. But what we have seen when we do school visits for the teen mom to regular check up on them to see how punctual they are in their attendance, their academics, and so forth. We come upon some instances where teachers were very harsh towards them because they are teen mothers. And I mean, they say a few, even in front of us, they would say words as like, her being pregnant is not an excuse. Because she's a teenage mother, she is making excuse for not submitting her work on time, not showing up for class, and so forth. So the stigma is there, the discrimination is there in the schools amongst the teen mothers from their peers, teachers, who you think that would have some sort of empathy.
Yeah.
Not saying that you are trying to support what she did, but to have a heart and to go easy on her, you know, because you don't know what the teen mothers are going through, whether at home, school, out there. You don't know. You don't know them on the outside apart from them being in school.
Okay, so I actually do have a question on discrimination and treatment, but before we get into that, are there specific ages that Project Viola targets, or is it just like once you're school age or in school? Like, tell me about like the kind of support Project Viola provides and to whom.
There's no age range as far as I know, because we've had instances where there was a teen mom in primary school, grade 6. I think she was at least 12, somewhere around that. So there's no age range. And as far as support, okay, so how Project Viola works, the general public cannot come to the office and want to be a part of Project Viola. You have to be referred to our department. So the counselors in the school, once they found out that a teen mother is amongst them, they would refer the matter to Probation and Child Protection Service. And then Probation and Child Protection Services would refer the matter to us for us to do our assessment and get them enrolled in Project Viola once they are following the requirements, once they want to follow our requirements of being in the program. So as far as support, we try to encourage the teen mothers to finish their secondary education. And once enrolled in the program, that is one of the objectives for them to finish their secondary education and tertiary, if needs be. And also we try to do developmental sessions with them during the school break. Reason for that, we don't want to disturb them during the hours of school, so we try to target them during the Easter, the summer, and we have our developmental session, our vocational trainings, anything that is needed based on assessment to help them, to empower them, and to help them overcome whatever challenges that they are facing.
Okay, so let's get back to this issue of discrimination and treatment as a pregnant person, especially a teenager, because there's, I mean, I suppose it's partly being in a supposedly Christian society. It's partly the value that we place on marriage and having children within wedlock and things like that. But it's also, I think, hugely our belief that young people should not be having sex. And a pregnancy is the most obvious manifestation of sexual activity. And of course, you know, I mean, this program, it's not targeted towards teenagers because there's a lot more involved, you know, typically in that than talking to adults about sex. Because, I mean, you know, when you're talking to teenagers, it's just, a whole lot of stuff that is involved and approvals that you get and all of those things. But I think the conversation around teenage pregnancy in particular is one that can make a lot of people uncomfortable. And it's something that we would prefer not to happen.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, and I started out saying, like on this show in particular, like which is supposed to be about sex education, Roma, recognize the importance of talking to young people about sex as a way of, ensuring that they practice safer sex methods, also helping in some cases to delay, even the first time that people have sex. Other people don't see it that way. And as a result, because of all of our feelings, our stereotypes and so on, people can experience a lot of discrimination just for, being pregnant, and it may have been the only time you ever had sex, you got pregnant. So talk to me about some of you mentioned some of it, but tell me about some of the discrimination and treatment that you have heard about, gotten reports of, witnessed, and so on.
Okay, so when it comes to the teen mothers, stigma and discrimination is one of the biggest downfall for them, but they tend to not let that be something to bring them down. But when it comes to the general public knowing that they are pregnant, they're not aware. Mm-hmm. So most of the discrimination comes from the people or the individual that they are around most, which are their peers at school and the teachers, for instance. And the type of things that the peers would say to them and even the teachers is very atrocious. And as a teen mother, you're already dealing with the difficulties of being a new mother. Mm-hmm. Transitioning through this process is hard, and then to go to school and have to deal with it while you are pregnant, and then to come back to school after giving birth and still going through it is a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot, and the teen mothers enrolled in the program, they are very strong individuals. They are very focused, although they may encounter something down the road, which is teenage pregnancy, they're still resilient. Mm-hmm. They still try to overcome the barriers that were set in place for them. So they don't allow the discrimination to stop them. They don't allow it to force them not to come to school. Mm-hmm. They show up still, they endure it, and at the end, the results are there when they graduate. One of the things that they always say to me is that even though they bully me and they tease me and they say all kind of things, you know what I tell myself? I go in India, I gonna go to school and I gonna do my best. I gonna put in my best foot forward so I could come out with my sexy subjects and show them that not because I was a teenage mother that I couldn't overcome, I couldn't come out with sexy subjects and do better, even though my situation is different from the others. Yeah. And I could remember one instance where one of our teen mothers, during CXC, she was pregnant. And even up on the hospital ward, she sat there and she did her exams. Even through the drips, the pains, the contractions, she did her CXC subjects right there on the hospital bed. And you don't tell me that is strong? You can't tell me that it's strong. And is the effort that they put forward, they don't allow their situation to be a factor in how they come out on top. So
yeah. It's interesting that you bring up hospital, because I know that can also be hospitals, clinics and so on can also be a source or space where people either get discriminated against or get support. Cause I know growing up, I used to hear people say, if you could lie down and take whatever, then you have no, excuse in experiencing the pain that every other pregnant person's experiences. And so it's just like what you were talking about with the teachers, like being harsher on them because they are teenagers and pregnant, like expecting more than you would of anybody else their age, because you know, you think, okay,
you're big.
Yeah, you're an adult. No, because you're gonna do adult.
So you should take full responsibility for your action. But I mean, like I said, the discrimination and stigma is everywhere.
Yeah.
Like once persons are aware that they are teen mothers, it's there.
Yeah.
And it's bold-faced. So, I mean, I think that as a society, we need to work better on the way we treat people, because we don't know people's situation. Sometimes they come from vulnerable families.
Yeah.
You don't know what transpired why they became pregnant. You don't know, you don't know the factors behind it. So instead of judging, why not help? And one of the things too, because I would say not only the teen mothers alone face the discrimination, I myself feeling it, because when I applied for like sponsorship or any type of contribution towards the program, I have individuals who don't want to sponsor because they feel as though they're supporting the cause, but not really thinking about the long-term aspect of it, of how we're trying to incorporate the funds or the in-kind contribution towards them in trying to help them better their life, better their situation for them and their children, in terms of like helping them by the supplies that is needed for the baby and for them. Also in terms of to help them with back to school supplies and so forth. So people feel as though because it's a government program that the government should do everything, but it's only so much the government could do. So I don't want to use the platform to beg, but
you can.
Yeah, but yeah,
you can appeal for resources
to the general public that, you know, a little goes a long way.
Okay.
Sponsoring doesn't mean that you're supporting the cause of teenage pregnancy.
Yeah. And that also, you know, what you said really had me thinking about what the ultimate goal is, right? And the ultimate goal is, and you mentioned this off camera to reduce the possibility of getting pregnant again while you're in school. Yeah. And that's, you know, a really important goal to have. It's also to ensure that teen mothers can complete their education like every other child has a right to.
Not because of yourself.
Yeah, and not because they have different realities, not because life has looked a little bit differently from them. Like, if the goal is to ensure that every young person can complete their education or gets as far with their education as they desire, or whatever it is, then that's what we're working towards, like whatever that takes. But that's just how I think and I do. And then it also, you know, you're talking about, you know, the stigma and discrimination that come from teachers, peers, and so on. Do y'all do any trainings with teachers, peers? Do you have conversations with them about what it means to have, you know, a teenage mother among them, how they should or can support them, things like that?
We try. Well, we don't have trainings, but when we go on school visits and we see it.
Oh, so it's more like reactive. Okay.
Yeah, we try to, you know, talk to the teachers and so on, but you know, some persons are stuck in their ways.
Yes,
and
that's true.
They feel as though, you know, the teen mother just using her situation as an excuse, you know, rather than trying to hear her out, you know. But I mean, sometimes when people are stuck in their ways, there's nothing really you could do to change them.
And that's where you need things like policy. So it's like, if you're not going to change your personal beliefs.
One encounter that we had, nothing we could have said could have make the teacher feel like he's just sticking to what he's saying. Like, oh, she just using her situation as an excuse, and that is not an excuse, you know. So it's kind of challenging when it comes to teenage pregnancy and teenage mothers. So I mean, I think policies and training for teachers is evident.
Yeah.
Something that would impact.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah. We can take a break. We can take a break here. Welcome back to Pleasure Pulse. I'm your host, Roma Richardson, and you are joining me in the middle, I don't know if it's the middle, near to the end, something, of my conversation with Vanessa Archibald of the Department of Gender Affairs. And we have been talking about Project Viola, which is a program for teen mothers to ensure that they can finish school and also to ensure that they are not prevented from finishing school. That was a good summary?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we have talked about, the history and origin, some discrimination and treatment that teen mothers get. We've talked about, what the ultimate goal is of the program and so on. I want to hear from you what support for the program has been like in general. And I know you put out an appeal for resources, which I'll also let you do again at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, what has the reception been from people? I know we talked about the discrimination and so on, but what about the support? Has the support been good? What are the areas where support can be boosted?
The only areas that support would be needed is the resources to continue. To continue to provide the necessary activities and sessions, developmental sessions that they would be benefiting from. And also, there are a few persons that generally came on board. I mean, they like the initiative, they like the program. There was something new to them. They never heard about it before. So, they were willing to contribute as much as they could to the program and continuously do it.
So you have some long-term supporters?
Kind
of.
Last year.
Okay, that's good enough.
Because last year is when I came into the role as the program officer for Project Viola, so yeah.
Okay, so you're building like a new legacy.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. And in terms of the impact of Project Viola, well, obviously there is, it's meeting its ultimate goal or objective of ensuring that teen mothers are not prohibited from, finishing their schooling. But what about other impacts? You mentioned the developmental session, and you mentioned, the relationship that you have with them and they have among each other. Tell me about some of the impacts of the program.
The impact of the program has been good. I mean, we are meeting the objectives that surrounds the program. And last year, we had at least 3 of our teen mothers who graduated high school and went on to CFBC. And we have a partnership with Hosford's, where they take on the teen mothers on a scholarship. So they provide scholarship to the teen mothers enrolled in the program to continue tertiary education at CFBC. So they would provide them with the materials that they need to continue that level of their education. So, and then they also would take them on during the breaks to do job attachment to get first-hand knowledge of what Hasford does, what they do down there. And, it's a good partnership, it's a good initiative that they came on board. And, the teen mother who is in that scholarship aspect at the moment, she is doing good, she is progressing, she is a sweet lady, young lady. And, she put her best foot forward. Like, we could call her anytime to come and say a few words about how the program has been impactful for her. There's others too, but she's one of them. And another thing also, we have had no occurrences of any second pregnancy during their tenure in the program, so that's good. Yes, that's very good. And they are progressing. that's one thing. Even though they became mothers at a young age, in terms of their education is up to par. Like we have no problem with them. There's nothing that we have to force them to do. Like they're always willing, they always look forward to the developmental sessions, and we have 2 developmental sessions coming up in April. I mean, it was a challenge to even pull off those 2 because, you know, CXC is around the corner, and, you know, they have classes because they're in 5th form. So we're able to do 2 at the moment, and then in the summertime we'll continue with the rest. And last year we would have launched our shadow mentorship program. We are based on their career aspirations. We would have paired them with professionals so that can shadow them, mentor, and gain first-hand knowledge into a career path that they are interested in, you know. So at least they know, like, they see the nitty-gritty of it, and they could decide, like, is this something I really want to continue doing, you know? So, and the professionals who came on board, they, when I asked them, they didn't have any problem with it. They never heard about the program before, some of them. So it was something new to them. And their feedback from the teen mothers being there were excellent as well. And the teen mothers themselves even asked to have it again this year, so that's something that we are looking forward to in the summertime, as well as doing a vocational training in hair, nails and makeup, you know. Try to give them something that they are interested in instead of we trying to throw everything on them. Yeah, we try to ask them what they would like to do, what are some things that you would like to see happening in the near future with the program, and try to work around it and try to see how best we can pull it off.
I love that. I love how, and I think it's like, isn't it a best practice program in this bit? Okay, I don't want to misspeak, but
I would say yes.
Yeah, I think I've definitely looked up Project Viola, and I've seen, like, you know, reports on it and descriptions of it as a best practice, or at least like a model for other programs.
Yeah, and I would say it's one of the best programs in the ministry as well. That is highly spoken about.
You can.
So, yeah. We have the 5 stars, and I mean, we don't disappoint, and we try our best to educate, to give the knowledge to the teen mothers through the developmental sessions. So, a few sessions so far that we had during last year, we had time management, because we try to do school visits and see, meet with the counselors and them to see the areas that they are weak in, and we try to do the session. So if time management is an issue that the school said that they're having with them, we did a time management session last year. We did a self-care and mental health session. We did parenting sessions. We did a number of sessions with them last year. We had like a week and then of developmental sessions, and then the following week is when we sent them to do the shadow mentorship, and they were happy for the shadow mentorship as well, because some of them indicated that the schools, some of the schools no longer do job attachment. So, you know, it was very, you know, the feedback from them, because every time we do a session, we always do evaluation, a digital evaluation, to get their feedback on how the session went and how we could improve it if there is any need for improvement. So I would say that we are doing an extremely well job with the teen mothers, and it's only up from here on out, and we try to follow them as much as possible. Like, they could come to us for anything, and when it comes to the SPAs right now, myself and my other co-worker, Shireen Williams,
in the Math SPA,
she is the case manager, so they look for us as that support. So you know, when they need any help with the SPAs, when they need any printing done, when they need anything, we try to lend that aspect, that support to them, you know, let them know that we are in your corner, we're here to help you with anything. Like, don't afraid to come and talk to us, don't afraid to ask anything that you need. Once we are able to ask for it, that's one thing Miss Celia Christopher taught us, to beg. She taught us very well how to beg. So we try to use our resources to ask for assistance so we could be able to help them. So we usually, so back in February, we would have do a health clinic checkup for them. Because last year we did a sexual health and reproductive knowledge session with Dr. Gardenia for them, and the information that you think that they should have known, we weren't there. So it means that even though they are mothers, their health is not a priority. So we try to enforce that as a #1 priority for them. So the health clinic was good. We partner with WEG, so donate our. I think they have a, what you call it, like a drive for pads or something. I don't know the extent of it. Like I can't remember, but yeah. So we partnered with them when we did the health clinic. So they came and they donated the pads, and after the Basel Health Clinic nurses, they did an excellent job in educating them and informing them the importance of knowing their health once they are sexually active. That there are things that supposed to take place in terms of their health, that they should come regular to check up. So they did a good job at doing that, and then afterwards we were able to distribute the pads to them that was donated. It went well.
Yeah.
It went well. So this is something that we plan to do. Not every quarter, but every 6 months at least, because some of the tests that were done, they need space before you could do it again.
Right.
So, yeah, that was
okay. So we are winding down. We have like 5 minutes left. And I have 2 questions. I want to give you time to say, like, where people can donate resources and so on. But I also want, before we get to that, to ask you what families, schools, and society in general can do to support teen moms. And sorry, I know this probably could be a very long answer, but see if you can give us like the top few things that people can start to do immediately to support teen moms.
That's a very good question, but some of the teen moms, they have the support of their parents. So one of the things that some or a few teen mothers may lack is the support from their parents. I mean, some parents tend to feel frustrated, I guess because they are hurt that their daughter at an early age got pregnant. Some of them as mothers too were teenage mothers as well. So it kind of hurt them, and the feeling that they develop, they don't know how to deal with it. So it's like they throw all their aggression and anger at teen mothers. So I think that sometimes we need to lend the support to our teen mothers as parents. And as a general public, we too could have children that could end up in this situation, our brother, our sisters. So we need to be more empathetic and, lend the help, lend the supporting help, because it takes a village to raise a child. And when it comes to the teen mothers, they need that village, they need that aspect in their life to help them maneuver through, because you as a teen mother having to battle school, you having to battle being a new mother, having to take your child to the clinic at morning, still have to make it in time to go to school early. It's challenging, and we need that armor of strength between parents and teachers to help, because there are some teachers who are very supportive, especially the guidance counselors, who would take the initiative and go that extra mile with the teen mothers to, help them with their children, help them with any aspect that they see for that they need help with. So, I mean, when it comes to the discrimination part of it from society, I think we need to channel the focus, the anger, the judgment somewhere else, because it's not needed. Yes, they made a mistake, but do you gonna kill them for that mistake?
Yeah.
We need to find a solution to help them not
make the same
the same mistakes, and to prevent it. We need strategies, because not everyone is willing. As some parents, they are not open, they are not let's say, okay, I don't want to say, okay, because they are hurt, they are ashamed, they don't open up enough for the children.
Like
to
the
be
relationship
enrolled.
ends, essentially.
Yeah. So
Oh, you were talking about to be enrolled in the program.
To be enrolled in the program
sorry,
as well, and also to support their child. I guess, I don't know. Only they know what they're going through. So I think as mothers, we need to be more understanding, like, I don't know. Because at the end of the day, she is your child.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't want the general public to say, oh, your child become a teen mother and you're not supporting her, you're not doing any, you're neglecting her.
Yeah.
So it's all about understanding the situation and helping your child overcome it. Because at the end of the day, the two of y'all hurt. Because I'm sure as a teen mother, I would be wondering like, well, this really happened to me.
Yeah.
Because growing up, if you hearing about teenage pregnancy, the first thing you're gonna say, oh, not me. I ain't gonna end up in that situation. And then it might not be you, but it might be someone close to you, your sister, you know?
Yeah.
So I think we need to show more love. We're not supporting, you're not supporting. Showing love to the individual doesn't mean you're supporting it.
Yeah, okay. And in the last minute, tell people where they can donate resources, find out more information, and so on.
To find out more information, you could always visit our Facebook page, Department of Gender Affairs St. Kitts, and also we are located on Victoria Road, Ministry of Social Development and Gender Affairs. That's the green two-story building. So yeah, you could always visit there anytime and ask to speak to any one of us. Even if I'm not there, there's always persons in our department who could also answer questions or concerns. And then you could also reach us at 467-1254.
Okay, and they could call to find out what resources you need. You accept checks, everything, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining me for this conversation on Project Viola. I hope everybody in St. Kitts now can speak confidently about the program and about what the program has accomplished over the years since 1997, you said. So as usual, you know, I'm encouraging us all to be mindful of how we treat each other. Remember the ultimate goal, and the ultimate goal is support and thriving for every one of us. And yeah, with that, I will wish you a good evening. Remember, Pleasure Pulse is a safe, inclusive space where there is no topic that's too big or too small. I'm going to wish you a pleasurable evening and say good night. See you all next Tuesday.
Bye.